Okay, well, let's get started. I would like to welcome you to Marketing Coaching Tips and Strategies during the pandemic. I'm really excited about presenting this content to you, and I hope you enjoy the tips and ideas. And my goal is always that you're going to be able to take at least one or two of the ideas that I have for you and apply them to your practice or to your business right away, as in their pragmatic ideas. So a couple of little household items. As you know, those of you who are here, you see that there is a dashboard. And through the dashboard, you have access to some pretty good things. First of all, we have handouts. And I maxed out the number of handouts I could include, which is 5. And so you'll see what you have accessible during the PowerPoint. During this presentation, you have the ability to download all of these handouts. I'm going to be referring to them throughout the webinar, but you do have access to all of these. And I also want you to know that I've included the very slides that you're looking at right now, and that within these slides, there are a number of links. And because the slides are saved to a PDF, they're all live. So you'll have access to not just what you're seeing on the PowerPoint, but also to other sources and blogs, etc. So you can also ask questions. And I want to mention to you that we are going to answer all of your questions. We're scheduled to run from 11:30 Central Daylight Time until 12:15. But I'm telling you now, if you have a question, we will not leave the webinar until all the questions have been answered. And also don't forget to register for our next webinar that Christy Gusick is going to be delivering on how to have a wildly successful content marketing strategy. It's June 18th, also at 11:30, and there will be links throughout the materials for you to register. So with that, I thought it would be interesting to introduce myself in a little different way. One of the attachments that you'll see is my biography, if you really want the nitty-gritty. But I thought what might be interesting is to talk to you a little bit about why I do what I do, why I really love the business that I started over 24 years ago. So with that, I'm Terry Wheeler. I'm the founder and president of PSM Marketing, and we have provided virtual outsourced marketing and marketing coaching services for over 24 years. Like I said, you can see the bio if you want all the details. But what I want to draw your attention to, and I'm mentioning this because I want you to all think about this as well. People don't want to work with you because of what you do. They want to work with you because of why you do it. In other words, they want to see your passion, your commitment, your excitement. So I thought it would be good to share some of the reasons with you as my introduction of why I do what I do. First of all, I can always see the potential in people. And that is a joyful thing. I can always see more than most people can see in themselves. I also really love helping people achieve their goals, knowing that without my help, they may not have achieved what they're achieving. It also really brings me great joy to see those aha moments that my clients have when pretty much everything falls into place for them. I really do feel the same level of excitement for my clients as they do when they have successes. And then finally, I get really energized by being the energizer. I've had a lot of clients say, wow, you're so motivating. Well, that energizes me to be that energizer, energizer bunny, if you want to think of it that way. All right, so let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to be talking about what does marketing really look like in this new reality that we have. And the vast majority of the presentation is going to be on what are some tips and strategies that I have for you to really maintain and grow your business, even in this crazy economy. So the first thing we're going to start with is marketing in the new reality. And in summary, what it requires is that we have a flexible focus, that we are creatively looking at ways to continue delivering services to our clients, and that we remain hyper vigilant and client focused. So let's take a look at how marketing has really changed due to the pandemic. So I'm guessing if I were looking at you all right now in my audience, you would be nodding and saying, "Yep, I've been to a couple of those Zoom happy hours." Well, it's a great way to stay connected to people. Obviously, it's not exactly the same, but people are doing things on Zoom and many other virtual models, virtual conference rooms, etc. And it's not just about the happy hours. It's about making a point of reaching out to people, whether it's for lunch or coffee. Just do it using a video conferencing service so that you can actually see the people that you're meeting with. Also, think about some of those associations you belong to. They could be trade associations or professional associations, bar associations. Chances are the events that you would have attended and even CLEs are being offered in a virtual environment. People aren't getting together as groups, but you know that. There are also a lot more digital interactions. People are upping their game on social media, doing blog posts, even watching YouTube videos. So there's a lot more focus on maintaining connections with people through these digital modes. You all know this as well as I do. We've had to figure out how to make a remote work environment work for us, how to carve out that time and that space generally within our homes to be able to be productive professionals that we are. As a result of all of this remoteness, we have to figure out how to build relationships and maintain and grow relationships in a remote/virtual environment. Because as we know, contact free is the way to be. And all the statistics that I've seen are talking about, regardless of whether and when, it's more about when the economy is going to fully open. There are a lot of people who are going to not just jump into life as usual and business as usual. And we're going to have to continue as business owners and business professionals to consider how we can remain relevant while also remaining contact free. We're going to be doing a lot more educational programs and offering services in a remote environment. And I've got a lot of really good examples that I'm going to share with you. And also, you can access, we've written a series of, I think we're up to 18 or 20 blog posts on marketing tips for COVID-19, when people are isolating, when people are not doing what they used to do. So you also have access, and when you download that PDF, you're going to see that all of these links are live. So as you're looking at the PDF in Adobe Acrobat, you click on Marketing Toolkit and you'll go directly to that page on our website with all of the COVID-19 marketing blogs. So now I want you to step back for a minute and think about, what would you be doing right now without all of these tools? It's great that we have tools like this, but think about the challenges we've had to go through as we're learning all of these new products. Just look at what you had to learn, and also think about stepping back and being thankful that this didn't happen 7 or 8 years ago, because the majority of these tools would not have been there for us to communicate and for us to remotely easily schedule appointments. You'll notice the first line with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Whereby and GoToMeeting. These are all virtual conference rooms. There's also Google Hangouts. One tip that I want to give you right away is to make sure that before you join one of those services, that you've gone to the website, that you've downloaded any software that you need, but most importantly, that you've tested your microphone, your cameras, your speaker. I had a story that I was told the other day by one of my clients who was talking about a virtual hearing. So a virtual hearing is in a virtual conference room. There's the judge and there are 2 attorneys. And one of the attorneys was not able to get his tech working correctly. So they could see him, but they couldn't hear him. And that's just not something that you want to have to deal with. It's stressful enough trying to conduct business using virtual teleconferencing services, but you want to make sure you check your technology and know that the service that you're going to be connecting into is going to seamlessly connect with the camera, microphone, and speakers that you have on your computer. So now let's move into some of the marketing coaching tips and strategies that I have for you today that are going to work during this time of remote working. I want to step back and suggest that the first thing you're going to want to do is conduct an assessment of your practice. Then you're going to put a plan in place. You're going to implement that plan and you're going to measure the results. So the first step in that process is really stepping back. And what you're doing is you're figuratively pouring everything on a big table so that you can objectively see how you're doing in really important areas that involve your strategy, the strategy that you are using in your business. And here are some ideas of things that you can look at when you're assessing your own business strategy. Now's the time to look at your branding. Take a look at your logo, your materials, any presentations that you've been doing, and see how they look to you compared to your competitors. Assess your grades. Give yourself a grade on all of these. And if you have anything less than a B, it's probably time to rethink your strategy. Look at your website, the navigation of your website, the design. Look at your digital marketing activities and how you're doing in terms of blog posts and social media, communications, and other areas. So my whole key message here is that in order to really conduct a marketing strategy, you have to first step back and assess. So once you've gone through this process of assessing what has worked, what hasn't worked, it's time to look at developing your marketing plan. Now, one of the attachments is a tool that we use with a lot of our clients, and it's an 8-step marketing planner. This tool that we developed for you, and we really hope that you'll download it and use it, provides a great way for you to first identify some of your best contacts, because in most of your businesses, it's all about your contacts, the people who know you, like you, respect you, trust you. Those are the people who are going to work with you or refer business to you. So you want to look at those referral sources. Most of you have a really great base of people who, before and hopefully now during this pandemic time, are continuing to refer contacts and clients to you. But you want to look at those referral sources as well when you're developing your marketing plan, because they require some unique strategies. You also want to look at what makes you unique. You want to figure out why people hire you. Beyond that, this is where we get into the who, what, why, where, how, all the questions that need to be answered. So this tool is going to walk you through how to develop marketing objectives, which are the what and the when. Marketing objectives, as you've probably heard in Marketing 101, need to be specific and they need to be measurable. So what do you want to do and by when? The next thing you're going to look at in this document are the audiences, those to whom you are marketing. Because from my perspective, every single audience needs a little different strategy when you're talking about reaching them and what you want to achieve with them. The messages. I'm going back to the why. People don't really work with you because of what you do. You might think they do. You're a lawyer, you operate a winery, you're an accountant, but you know what? They work with you because of why you have gotten into that business in the first place. So really think about those why messages. And then finally, we get to the tactics, and that's the how. How are you going to do the things you want to do to market and build and grow your practice? So I always tell my clients, if there's something that pops up, you get an email and you think, wow, this might be a great marketing idea. Well, ask yourself, does it actually relate back up very specifically to one of the objectives that you want to achieve? And if it doesn't, it's not something you want to pursue. You want to avoid more than ever the shiny object approach to marketing, which is that everything looks good and why not give it a try? That's, in my opinion, not the best strategy for you. You want your marketing plan to be focused, well thought out, strategic, and targeted. So now another tip, and that is having to make your new reality virtual. Your new reality is virtual. So, what does that mean for you as you're trying to adjust and have been for the past couple of months to this new virtual reality? Well, first of all, you want to be able to lean into this and stay sane while you're working from home. It was, let's see, 2 months ago, my colleague Michelle Wheeler delivered a wonderful webinar on this very topic. So when you're looking at your PDF, if you click on this link, you'll go to that webinar and you can watch it. And I highly suggest you do, especially if you're still struggling a little bit with how to work out of your new virtual reality. Another thing you can do is to really make your business more virtual. Now, what does that mean? It means if there are things that you did in your business that were one-on-one with clients or with customers, you may not be able to replicate everything. But some of the things that you do, you can replicate in the form of a virtual, something happening on Zoom or something happening in a virtual conference room. So, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we helped one of our clients in New Jersey really create and start to promote a virtual business. I also encourage you to look into, it's a service called Appointlet, and I think there are a couple of others like it, but what it allows you to do is to share your calendar with people so they can see when you're open. A lot of healthcare providers or therapists will use this service and have for years, but it's now becoming a little bit more mainstream due to the pandemic. So take a look at an appointment scheduling software, and at the same time, look at creating your own video conference room. One of my clients is a mediation, he does mediation, and I literally helped him create a virtual mediation center using one of these services. So again, it's looking at what you're doing now, what would normally be done in a one-on-one in-person setting, and seeing if there isn't a way to make it virtual. I want to point out that the combination of Appointlet and sharing your calendar with people and your video conference room go hand in glove, because once someone schedules an appointment with you, then you automatically can link your video conferencing service. So that when the day arrives and the time arrives, it's a one-click opportunity for people to have their meeting with you, and they can see you and they can talk to you. And I think that is really far superior than just having telephone conferences. So they really do go together. Also, you can look at ways that you could potentially create what I'm calling touchless services for the same client. We helped create the concept of the virtual office, the virtual law office. We also helped him create a touchless version of divorce. Of course, he's a divorce lawyer, so I'm going to share that with you briefly on the next slide. So the virtual law office, you can see in the upper left-hand side. Now, what this is it's a page of his website that deals with how he is serving his clients during the pandemic, that everyone is available virtually. You can schedule appointments with anyone in the law firm. You can schedule video conferences. The whole goal is to say, we're still here, we're still serving our clients, and it's really easy to connect with us and to schedule a meeting. And not everyone is taking this proactive approach to saying, hey, we are still in business. And again, most of our clients at PSM are professional services organizations. So my apologies if you are a restaurant, for example, because these things are not going to apply. But for the vast majority of our clients, it's about reassuring their clients that they're still here, they're still accessible, and they're still scheduling calls with people. I also mentioned the e-divorce. So, many times in marketing, perception is a reality. And particularly, and I know this sounds terrible, but when people are forced to be together for the past couple of months and, maybe longer, sometimes they realize they don't really get along. And so our client in New Jersey wanted to develop, and we encourage this, a way that people can get divorced electronically. And we're calling it the e-divorce. I know it's really creative, but at least it describes what the service is. And I'll tell you what we did is we repackaged what people have already been able to do. They can do what's called an uncontested divorce. If they agree on all the stipulations and child support and visitation and everything else, alimony payments or spousal maintenance, they can get divorced electronically. So it's a service that existed, but we repackaged it to remind people that in this case, we can help them get divorced electronically. Yes, this is me earlier this morning in my virtual conference room getting ready for the presentation today. So I really hope that all of you, if you do one thing after or two things after this, you're going to figure out what virtual conference room you want to make your own. And you're going to do what Sam Edmonds and his colleagues at Sieben Edmonds Miller did. And you're going to use Appointlet so that people can easily click to schedule a call with you, to schedule a meeting with you. Again, the virtual conference room is tied right into the appointment confirmation. And the easier it is for people to reach you, the more likely it is they're going to maintain their confidence in you and continue working with you. So now let's move on and talk about another tip for you. And you don't hear this often, but it's really important for you to remain and to get, if you're not, social. So what that means is let's take some time to make sure you're catching up with your social media contacts, that you're reaching out to them, that the big thing is engaging. You're engaging on social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. You are engaging with your contacts. You're reaching out to them probably in a way that you couldn't do before because you were in an office environment. And I know that there are office environments that don't even let people go out and get to Facebook or LinkedIn while they're working, which is obviously silly, but now's the time for you to use your social media contacts and stay in touch with them and reach out to them and comment on their posts and develop your own posts. It's also a really good time for you to beef up your LinkedIn profile. And as we know, we have Facebook, which we think of as more the backyard barbecue. And then we have LinkedIn, which is more of the Chamber of Commerce or that business association. So I want you to make sure that your LinkedIn profile truly reflects the breadth and depth of who you are and what you've done. And now's just a great time to update that profile and make sure that it includes everything that makes you unique, including a very personal, professional summary at the beginning of your profile that, guess what it does? It talks about the why you do what you do, not just what you do, but why you do what you do. It's a really powerful tool to be able to make some personal posts on a regular basis. And for a lot of clients, we go out and we curate content and we schedule content on all their social media profiles. But during this time when people are spending more time on social media, it's really important to think about sharing some personal aspects of you and your life, and maybe and I know people overdo this, but a screenshot of you on a Zoom call. People want to see inside. We're already having the opportunity, as you know, when you do these various different calls on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whereby you get to see where people live, you get to see their environment. Yes, there are ways that you can develop a background that blocks out absolutely everything that would be behind you, but I think it's kind of fun to just even the newscasters and the anchor people there, we're able to sort of see their home environment. So the point is, use social media to make some personal posts. It doesn't have to all be about business. In fact, people want to work with others that they like and trust and respect. And so now's the time to not just get social, but get a little bit more personal with your connections. Also, mining your LinkedIn contacts. Now, what does that mean? It means that you're looking at who your contacts know, because there might be someone that I happen to have as a contact that you would like to meet. And if I'm connected to you, what I want you to do is to send me a brief paragraph talking about why you want to meet that connection, why it's a good fit. And I am happy to forward that to my connection and put the two of you together to send one of those hey Terry, you need to meet Joe. Joe, you need to meet Terry. Emails, and link them together. It's a great time to do that because you probably have a little bit more time, right? You're not driving every day. You don't have to face rush hour every day. So these are things that you can do in that time where you otherwise would be commuting or just sitting in your office, being crazy at work. So host a virtual happy hour. So this is a little different. What I'm suggesting is don't wait for someone to invite you to a happy hour. Be the instigator. Be the person who says, you know what, I have this book club that we haven't really been meeting, or I have this office group, or my department, or my team, or people I went to high school with. People are being really creative about how they're using video conferencing technology. So I encourage you, once you're all set up, of course, to be the instigator and invite people to something where they can see each other and they can laugh, and through a camera at least they can make eye contact with each other. Okay, do targeted networking like Tony. So let me tell you about Tony. Tony is a client of mine and he's in Philadelphia. And every single day at 5:30, he and one of his business colleagues and friends decided that they were going to start hosting what they're calling a fireside chat. And what they do is they use Zoom or Whereby, and they invite one person to their fireside chat every single day, just so they can build a relationship, ask questions, learn more about what they do, talk about golf, whatever it happens to be. It isn't just about business, it's about building personal relationships. Now, let me say there may be some scotch and cigars involved. In fact, just last week when I was talking to Tony, he told me his wife now insists that he conduct his fireside chats outside on the deck. So, but again, get creative about how you're connecting with people. And I just think that's a great story. So another thing you can do during this pandemic is you can do the right thing. So guess what I'm going to be talking about here? I'm going to be talking about ways that you can write that are going to benefit you that you may not have had the time to do before. Adding new content to your website, for example. When you're doing that assessment of your website, every single page should have a minimum of 300 to 600 words on each page. And if it's a really important area of service for you, maybe 1,000 words. So look at this opportunity as an opportunity to add new content to your websites. Look at this as a great opportunity for you to write and post and promote a blog that you would write. You might notice over in the dashboard, I included in Microsoft Word a blog posting worksheet. I created this for clients so that it would be easier for them. I think a lot of people think blogs are just really difficult and it's going to take them hours to write and rewrite and edit and blah, blah, blah. Well, it doesn't take that long if you use the blog posting worksheet and you think first about who it is you're targeting. What is it that you want to say to that audience? What's the introduction, the big reason that they should read the blog? You want 3 or 4 paragraphs, short paragraphs supporting what your thought is, and then you want to conclude. So writing a blog post should not take you more than 30 minutes. I'm not kidding. I've actually done blog posts in 30 minutes. Because I wrote a blog post on how to write a blog post in 30 minutes or less. So I know it can be done, but it really helps to have this worksheet that I've attached as a handout for you. Also, sending an e-communication. This is the last time that you do not want to fade away into the sunset right now. You want to be actively engaged with your clients. You want to send them an e-communication. What's great is that you can let them know what you've been doing. You can let them know about your virtual delivery of services, how you're staying protected, keeping your staff safe. There are all kinds of things to communicate about, and it literally provides the opportunity for you to quote unquote drip. It's a drip communication to remind people that you are still there. Every time we do communications like this, we see an incredible spike in our clients' website traffic. So use this as an opportunity to send an e-communication to your clients. We also want you to reach out and not touch someone, but send them an email. An email can be a great way to just say, gosh, I've been thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. We should really get together. I'd love to invite you. Let's schedule a little virtual happy hour so we can get connected just like we used to, but we'll use my Zoom room. So talk to people via email, and even if you reached out to just a couple people every day that you've been thinking about, you can do it on social media, but you can also do it through email. Also, we talked a little bit about this, but updating not just your LinkedIn profile, but your biography. Now's the time to look at your website and look at most people's biographies that they have on their website are really out of date because you did it a few years ago when you did the website and you haven't really touched it since then. So it's a good opportunity to step back and really think about the uniqueness that you're bringing, updates that you have, and rewrite or update your biography. So let's move on to, I want to talk a little bit about search engine optimization because now's the time for you to spend a little bit of time doing your own SEO. So what can you really do on your own without hiring an extensive SEO team to be doing SEO for you? Well, one thing that you can do is you can secure Google reviews. And yes, it's a little more complicated. You have to have a Google My Business page. And you can follow up with me after this webinar if you're curious about how to do that. I think most businesses, most people do have a Google My Business page, but that's where you go to do a Google review. And you know you've got clients out there that are really happy with what you've done. And rather than have them just send you that nice email that extols your virtues and thanks you time and time again for what you've done for them, ask them to, if they would kindly go to Google. You can actually click the link that leads people right to the review page for you. You can send it to them in email and start amassing 15, 20, 25 or more Google reviews, because not only are they awesome to read and they make you feel good, but they also help your search engine optimization, because Google will favor people who have a lot of engagement on their website, and people who have Google reviews will rank higher than people who don't. Also, keyword research. Let me tell you what I mean by this. You all have competitors, right? You've all got people out there who do something similar to what you do. And so what you want to do is you want to go to Google and you want to do some research on the terms that you would like to be found for. So if you do a search on something that is important to you or a key service that you offer, and you see all these competitors pop up and you're way down on page 4, you know that you have some opportunities to add more content to your site, to underscore those keywords that are not coming up. One of the things that is so important with SEO is that you cannot do effective SEO if you don't have a content development strategy on the other hand. So in other words, you can't SEO something if there's no content on your website to do that. This is another plug for Christy's webinar next month on June 18th on how to develop an awesome content marketing strategy. But it's just interesting. It's sort of like, all right, you can admit it, but everyone at some point or another has Googled themselves, right, to see what comes up. It's the same kind of thing, but you're thinking about how you want other people to find you. Just gives you sort of an assessment of where you are. Maybe you're right at the tip top. If so, that's great. You probably have had some SEO assistance, but if you're not, it gives you the opportunity to add content to your website that underscores the keywords that you want to be found based on. It's also a good time for you to conduct a little mini website audit. And what I mean is, look at your website from the perspective of someone who's seeing it for the first time. Does it look like it was done a few years ago? Does it look dated? How's the navigation? How are the graphics? Is it easy to get to where you want to go on your website? And also, when you're conducting your own website audit, you want to look at your competitors and see how their sites are, because of course, we want you to have the best website out there in the pool of your competitors. But you can do that right now when you've got a little bit more time to try and look at your website objectively. I also want to encourage you to watch, and again, in your PDF, click, and you will be able to watch this webinar on the importance of SEO for small businesses during COVID-19. We get a lot more in depth because there's a whole hour of content on what you can do for yourself without having to hire an SEO strategy team. One thing I want you to keep in mind as you're doing your assessment is you want to make sure that your website is responsive. This almost goes without saying today, but your website needs to look beautiful on every single device of every size. And if it doesn't, really, you probably need a new website because that means it's so old. I remember when they used to charge more those days, which is really not, well, we never did, but to charge more to make the website responsive. This is just part of website best practices today. So, and you can easily tell by going to your website on your phone and really seeing how it looks. You also may want to consider, and I'm not going to go through all this, don't worry, but you might want to consider a professional SEO audit. And we will do these for clients and prospective clients who are really interested in working with PSM and have a focus on wanting to enhance their SEO. But there's a lot more that goes into a professional level SEO audit. So we encourage you, if you do a little one on your own and you say, I don't really like what I'm seeing here, talk to us about having us help you with a higher level, more professional SEO audit. We do these free. I also think now is a great time for you to become more introspective. Take a step back because I know you know this, but you're all unique butterflies. And it's important that you both acknowledge that, but then you have the opportunity to put those points of uniqueness into your marketing messages and onto your website. So what are some things you can do to take that step back and really be more introspective? You're going to get tired of me saying this, but you need to be able to identify why your clients work with you, not just what you do, the litany of bullets, services, etc. You want to be able to communicate that why you do what you do, the passion, the enthusiasm, the excitement. One of the ways that you can do this, and I'm giving you links to a couple of tools that we use with our coaching clients, is first and foremost the Gallup Organization Strengths Finder. I like it because it gives you 34 traits and characteristics and it ranks them from number 1 all the way down to number 34. The Strengths Finder is never going to say, well, this is actually a weakness, but I tend to look at my lower like strengths 24 through 34 and say that these are not necessarily, the things that I am best at, or nor do they reflect my true strengths, because I believe your whole business and your life needs to be built around the strengths, the inherent strengths that you have. You also have an opportunity to look at some of your personality preferences. I bet a lot of you have done the Myers-Briggs, and we have a free version that we use with our coaching clients, and it's at 16personalities.com. It allows you to really determine your personality preferences. And, it's introversion, extroversion, it's thinking versus feeling. So if you haven't already done this, take some time and figure out what those personality preferences are of you, because you might have an opportunity to retool some of what you're doing right now so that your work and your life is just more rewarding for you. Also, it's a great time to help others. In other words, offering free services. Just a short story, Stephen Edmonds, Sam, who has the appointlet on his calendar, they decided that they were going to, they offer criminal defense services. So they decided that during the pandemic, they were going to offer free expungement services. So we helped them develop a whole campaign around that and come up with surveys, and it was really efficient because people didn't pass go and collect $200, so to speak, if they didn't qualify. So we put a lot of qualifiers in the first survey, and they ended up not only doing a few free expungements, but they also got expungements from people who were happy to pay a reduced fee. So it actually generated business. One other cool thing it did, in 1 month, it took their unique visitors on their website from 1,400 to almost 3,000. So I love those direct cause and effect results that can be seen when you do campaigns like this. But consider what you might be able to do as a free service. We have another client, Hogan, an IT consulting firm, and they delivered meals to healthcare workers. And they took photographs and they posted a blog. It's not to say, look how great we are. It's to say we care about people and we want to feed some of our healthcare heroes. So that's what they did. It's also a time to support your local businesses and do that curbside pickup and put your money into things that are going to help others maintain their business so that when we come out of this, they're still going to be around. Also, getting back to basics. I always tell people you don't have to think about the cool, glitzy, new, unique things. Think about the things that made you successful to date. So I encourage people to step back and say, well, what if I woke up with no clients or no customers? What would I do? And think back to what made you successful and double down on those things that are basic, like reconnecting with people and letting people know what you do. And they'll come to you if you allow yourself that horror of waking up realizing I don't have any more clients or customers. Phone a friend, remember the phone. The biggest thing you can do is identify. Remember when we were all looking for jobs at one point or another in our careers? We had this concentric circle of people who we really trusted a lot. Those are the people that you want to reach out to, check in with them, see how they're doing during the pandemic, brainstorm with them to see if they have ideas for you as you continue to build and grow your business. You can make a referral. You can proactively connect to good people, even if they didn't ask you to do so, as well as building a referral source that you've been working with. There's so many ways to connect with people now. You can really focus on taking that referral source relationship to the next level. It's also a great time for you to reinvigorate your overall sales efforts. Look at your sales pipeline. If you don't have a pipeline, coincidentally, I put a sales pipeline Excel spreadsheet in the handout. So you can download it. It doesn't look like this. It has a lot more lines, of course. But what you're doing is you're tracking the current clients, your prospective clients, and referral sources, both those of whom you send referrals to and people who've given referrals to you. The most important category or column in this whole document is the next steps. What is the next step that you have with each person on your sales pipeline? It's a great time to step back and revisit your elevator speech, the values-based message of why you do what you do. There's a link in your materials to a blog I wrote on this very topic. It's also a great opportunity to target clients that you want to spend your time pursuing, as well as reaching out to those referral sources that have referred business or that you would like to refer business. And creating those messages, because your why messages are sales messages. People are going to be blown away because most people will say, well, I do this, 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 and this, but they very rarely talk about why they do what they do. And then finally, this is the last segment of the presentation. Don't forget the power of the press. You want to think about what your clients, what your referral sources read, and you want to amass a list of those publications. Maybe it's a radio station or a segment on television. Target your media. And even consider doing a news release. If you are involved in something that is timely and relevant and benefits or affects a lot of people significantly, it's probably news release topic quality stuff, and you should consider doing a news release. I'm also happy to talk with you about that as well. It's not like you just are going to sit down and draft something and send it out, but I'm happy to help you with that. Story pitches. So what's a story pitch? Now's the time to look at what your knowledge and background, amass that knowledge and background, and look at areas where you could potentially pitch reporters who are covering topics that you know a lot about, and you can reach out to those reporters through their email, through their communication on their own websites, and you can pitch story ideas. In addition, You can write articles because trade associations, professional associations, even the Star Tribune and the Pioneer Press, they're looking for articles, but you have to be targeted and you have to know what section of the paper would cover an article like that. Another thing you can do is you can always make you can look for the the local angle of a big national story. So if you're watching World News Tonight and you see something and say, "Wow, there's an angle for that in my state," you can actually pitch reporters in your state on, because reporters always like to have, especially state reporters, they want to have that big national story boiled down to what's relevant to people in their state. So think about that as well as you're reading the news. Then you can produce blogs that produce TV interviews like Larry. So let me tell you what Larry did. Larry is Larry Schiffer, and he's the founding partner of Schiffer Helene. And all of these television stories that you can see on their website have come as a result of television reporters reading his blogs and saying, "Hey, I really like what you said here. Can we come out and do an interview with you?" So it's very possible that those blogs that you're writing, if you promote them properly, can result in opportunities, excuse me, like Larry had with being able to be interviewed on television. And then remember I mentioned that that service, the free expungement service that our client Stephen Edmonds did. Well, we sent a news release out about that free expungement service. And within a couple of days, it was one of the top SEO results when you searched for the firm. So doing news releases, we distribute our news releases using PR Newswire. And I mean, it's really time consuming if you do it manually, but we encourage you to think about that. Again, what can you do in some time that you might not have had before? So I'm very hopeful that these suggestions have been helpful to you. And I also would like to right now remind you of a couple things. First of all, a lot of the information that I've shared with you, in fact, there's even a little bit more. If you click in your materials, you can print this checklist. You can print a checklist of all the things that we've covered today. So if you want to knock them off one at a time, you know, you can check, there's even a little box you can check them off when you've completed them. So I hope you will click and do that. Also, make sure that you do register for Christy's webinar next month on June 18th on how to develop a wildly successful content strategy. I also want to mention, if some of you need to leave the call right now, because I acknowledge that it is a little bit after the 45-minute timeline, but please complete the evaluation. You're going to receive a follow-up email, and in it, you can tell me if this was helpful for you. You can also tell us if there are other topics that you're really interested in right now, and maybe over the next 6 months that will help you in your business. So I really appreciate the fact that everyone stayed on the call, and I want to open it up if anybody does have any questions. And let's see here. All right. Great. I've got some questions here. So the first question, and I want to say, I understand if you need to go, but I do want to get to everyone's questions. So please hang in there with me, because if you answered a question or asked a question, I'm answering it. So the first question from Matt is, can Appointlet sync up with Outlook? Yes, it can. Appointlet can sync up with Outlook. It can sync up with Google Calendars. So it's really slick in that way. You don't have to make any major changes to, you know, how you're doing your email. That would be horrible. So it does sync up, and specifically, it syncs up with Outlook. All right. Whoops. Hang on a moment here. Okay. So another question we have is from Joan. Joan is asking that she says she has a small law practice and just purchased a Zoom license. Oh, and would like to find a virtual background. You know what? It's so funny and coincidental, because just this morning before my webinar, I was talking to the same client in New Jersey who does e-divorce, and And he had this amazing background, and he purchased, it's not the free version of Zoom, but it's one up. I think it was like $14 a month. And there is a way to find a virtual background. His happened to be a whole wall of books that made him look just very brilliant as an attorney. So there are some very, very cool backgrounds. So like I was saying before, yeah, it's nice to see, you know, where people are actually working, but maybe you don't want people to see where you're actually working. So there definitely are backgrounds that are accessible. And I totally understand that some people don't have that, you know, the getting social. You want to make sure that you have a professional background. And I know that on the second version of Zoom, the one that you have to pay for, those options are available. And I can't tell you exactly where to do it right now because I need to do it. And so Joan, I have your information, and when I find out how to do that, I will definitely send you an email and let you know click by click how you do that. So do I have an example of a good blog post? This is another question. Well, I could be silly and say, yeah, look at some of our PSM blog posts. And I think, you know, the most important thing is to take a look at that blog posting worksheet that I attached as a handout. And if you follow that process, you are going to have not just a good, but an excellent blog post, because it's going to be well organized. It's going to be focused on a topic. It's going to be focused on an audience. And that's really what you need to have an excellent blog topic. Let's see here. Can you talk about the virtual, Reed wants to know, can you talk more about the virtual conference room concept? Yes. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to set up a conference room that provides a link to, and if you go back and remember that picture of me sitting, and I mean, I'm guessing if I looked out at my audience here, the vast majority of you have done some sort of a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams. You know, we all have our personal favorites and others that we don't think work as well. But the virtual conference room is excellent because, especially now, you want people to know that you can see them, they can see you. It makes it much more personal. So that's why I suggest that anyone who is delivering services or operating their business from a virtual home office have one of these, install one of these, start working with these virtual conference rooms, because chances are you're going to be invited to something where you have to access that virtual conference room of someone else, but you also in your back pocket want to have your own virtual conference room. It's like, hey, why don't you come to my house? No, okay, I'll go to your house this time. But at least if you have your own virtual conference room, it gives you the ability on a dime to be able to say, well, let's just meet right now. Click a link and there you are, and there your client is. So I think it's a must-have right now. Let's see here. So one of the questions is about Larry and his blogs that he wrote that caused a TD response. Well, let me mention that if you just post a blog out there on your website, it's just going to sit there, and it's not really going to, you know, interest reporters per se. What you really have to do is promote it on all of your social media links. You need to get it out there. You need to post it time and time again. And it's through the social media promotion that we did that a reporter found the blog. And of course, once they find one of your blogs, they're going to be on the lookout for other ones that you do, because they see that you're obviously very knowledgeable and you know what you're doing. Okay, and then another question here from Kate that I am going to try and summarize. Any advice on whether or not to turn on your video camera if you're not sure if the other party will turn on their camera? I say if you're not willing to do cameras with a video conference, then just call people on the phone. I think one of the biggest benefits, and honestly, I'm always disappointed when someone doesn't turn their camera on, because it really does add that element of being personal, of sitting around a conference table with someone. It's just a whole different experience. And I can't believe that I ever did marketing coaching with my clients across the country without virtual conference rooms, which really haven't been around all that long. So I do think that if you're going to use a virtual conference room, you should make it known that the expectation is that everyone is going to use their camera and their microphone. They're going to have their cameras on, because otherwise, again, just call them on the phone. Okay, I think unless anybody else has any questions, I believe I have, as promised, gotten to all of them. If there's something of yours that I didn't answer or you want more information, my email is on this page. Just reach out to me and I'm happy to continue that discussion offline. So again, please stay on the connection here because you'll be directed to the evaluation. And I really do want your feedback on how we can continue offering timely, relevant webinars that are going to help you in your business today. So with that, I would like to, again, thank you all for taking your time this afternoon. Hopefully you guys were able to eat lunch while I've been jabbering away, but thank you so much for your time and your attention. And I look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thanks a lot. Bye.